Hello and welcome to The Rules of Acquisition, a podcast where we are going and have been going through every single episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the longest of the Deep Space Nines, or not of, that doesn't mean anything. Anyways, my name is Wade Bowen, and with me, as always, is James Nolan.
Hey, guys.
And Hugh Crawford.
Hey.
And we are at the penultimate episode of the series, if you don't count the last one as 2.
Yeah, this is the penultimate episode of the Rules of Acquisition, sort of, for our regular episodes, because we're going to do the finale in one part. Yeah.
Well, we want to keep the integrity of the podcast.
Yeah, right.
You don't want to have to break it up over the course of a week.
Right.
We
don't want to make any promises to people that they and then go back on it, because Star Trek people hate that when you do that on a podcast.
The Dogs of War. It is episode 24 of season 7. It originally aired May 26, 1999. Here is the full summary from IMDb. Odo begins recovery from the deadly disease which Dr. Bashir tells him has been engineered by Section 31 in order to wipe out the Founder's entire race. A resistance mission goes bad for Kira and Garrick, and they end up hiding in a basement of the house which Garrick grew up in. They soon hear Legate Damar, who has been on their mission, hiding with them, has just been a casualty of war. The Grand Nagus has chosen Quark to become his successor upon his impending retirement on the pleasure planet Risa.
Who wrote that one? Was it the SpongeBob guy?
Movie Dude 1 did that one now. This is a lot of housekeeping for Star Trek Deep Space Nine. The best stuff was a Damar stuff, though, right? No.
Do you mean it wasn't Ezra and Julian?
No.
Oh, God. Fuck.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, even because it gives a story credit to Peter Allan Fields, who probably didn't even know he was going to get a check that day. So, I feel like they were, settling, in all ways, they were this was a closing the books episode. Maybe they owed him an extra... they settled up and realized, oh shit, I never paid him for when Duke won the Final Four or whatever.
In your extensive research, James, did anything come up about what he actually contributed to this?
Nothing. I think they don't even talk about it.
I'm sure they don't.
But they just had to give all their high hitters an episode credit, because it's also Ronald D. Moore and Ira Stephen Bear get the screenplay credit, right?
Renee Echeverria and Moore.
Really?
Echeverria and Moore wrote it.
In my mind, I was ISB did this one, and clearly he just wrote all the Ferengi stuff, and then Moore did the other stuff. Maybe not the Ezra Julian stuff.
Bear, the whole idea with the whole storyline of it was his idea.
They had to wrap up the arc of the Ferengis throughout the show, and it is an interesting endpoint for Ferengi, with all a lot of all the yucks and shenanigans, but they end up with a
neoliberal revolution.
Yeah.
They get the Marxists to be the Negats, though.
He said a lot in an episode, but what do I feel about this episode?
Wait a minute. You're knocking Rom's political bona fides here? Rom go on Chapo?
It was they gave it after enacting the Al Gore 2000 political platform, they gave it to, I don't know, it just seemed like it was
everybody's going to get free health. Well, they don't say if it's free health care.
Yeah, but
progressive income tax.
Yeah,
that's something that the Clintons never really aimed for.
Yeah, no, it was clearly some sort of lip service to American liberal politics.
Sure.
But I don't know what I think about it as a closing to Quark as a character. I don't know what he does next week because I haven't watched ahead, but I don't know. I feel like this was
it was a weird, it felt clumsy to me as far as...
I feel like there was this desire, or not desire, I feel like there was this conflict probably in their hearts and probably in the room, but maybe not in the room, but definitely in my heart, that do you really, where it's the conflict of wanting to see a character last time you see them, they're in the environment. It's Sam Malone closing the lights at the bar. Right. So you see them in the environment that you remembered in, but there's a staticness to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it ends with Rom going off to be the neoliberal Marxist or whatever. And then Quark is doubling down before that he's he's playing right into the fucking Trump playbook where we have to make Ferengenar great again and cut back all these and shit that Obama did.
Yeah, but well, that's almost what I'm saying. Like I can't tell. Like I feel like that Quark has been running in the same plot loop for 7 years.
Oh, for sure.
And so to make him sort of like, and I mean, maybe are you supposed to think it's like Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd, like, you know, like, hey, he's always going to take a hard line and then soften due to comeuppance and circumstance.
Right.
That'll just be the character he is. And this was the last time we got to see him rage on with his wrongheadedness and bask in it and then get some sort of comeuppance. Like,
right. Well, or not even that. Like, Ferengi society is changing, and we all love that. But good old Quark, he's gonna stay the same old Quark that we love. And he's not changing at all, and we're supposed to find that endearing.
Yeah.
And I know that some of us don't. You know?
I think at the time you weren't supposed to remember the 8 episodes where, you know, he liberalized his politics based upon comeuppance. You're not supposed to remember that because that was the old formula. You didn't watch episodes from 3 years ago.
Right.
You just watched the episode in front of you, and I like to see Sam Malone in the bar.
He even calls out to that where he says, I've become soft and I've got to go double down. He's done that like 3 times where he's like said, I've become soft and I've got to become hard again. But
Yeah.
they do that same thing.
But one of the things that I find conflicting about that when you watch in this age of streaming, or just the way that I watch TV now, I remember, like, I can think about this with The Office, where, you know, at the beginning seasons, you're like, I like Jim. He's a go-getter. He's got things going on. He's not just an office worker. Like, he's got things going on, and that guy's going to go places, and he's being stifled by this boring and uncreative environment. Around season 8, you're just like, maybe you just fucking belong here, lame-o. Like, because he's still in the same job, you know, like, so.
Well, he's going to Philly for his sports job. And then
and they kept, like,
No, there's a
promoting.
point where you sort of hate Jim after a while.
Well, and I think the show had to, like, I felt like in the 8th season they were having to scramble because we hate Jim because Jim's a fucking lame-o asswipe who, like, still fucking there, man. He's like the guy, you know, like the cliche, you go back home to your hometown where you went to high school with, there's a guy that's just still there. Hey, no.
Right. Well, and then at the end of it, they have to sell you as, but that's lovable because, and then you're supposed to be like, take his wife's side who wants to be the small town wife, and Jim's an asshole for wanting something more, and then they pull back, and you know.
So I get a little bit of that with Quark, where it's kind of like, you know, like, fuck, like, maybe you aren't a special Ferengi, you know? Like, maybe you're just like a dick. And you're just like, you know, you're just that guy that never learns a fucking lesson.
He just pops off all the time. And he never, that's all he does.
There's both things are true. I wouldn't have had this if they had grown the character, but by growing the character, it's like what I bitched about with Damar. Is this really the way we want to see Damar, or not Damar, but Dukat? We want to see Dukat as this scuzzy Bajoran gigolo? Like, is this really how we want to see Dukat in the end? But that's growth. That's what, you know. So well, I get the conflict between that, and it's an interesting. I'm almost cerebral with it now. I'm not even talking about whether I liked it or not. It's kind of like, wow, it's a difference in how TV's done that. Quark would have grown some, but didn't.
Yeah, they grew him some in like season 3, and then they just had to put it on a loop.
Yeah, well, I mean, they turned him into a woman to learn like it's all of this shit.
Yeah,
and
that's a whole.
It's one of those things where it either you get a snapshot of him the way he was always great, which is Worf at the bar being a chauvinistic,
right,
capitalist
and that's what
asshole.
they settle on. Yeah,
that's the image I want to see of him, or like I'd like to see the end of his growth story.
They kind of do both, and it's kind of gross how like, oh, they're making him the hard ass, like, no, I'm gonna be the bar and fuck Ferenginar, it's dead, but my bar is gonna be the one vestige of the old Ferengi way. And then he's like, okay, cool. And then he's like, but I love you, brother. So it's like, gets the full house. Oh, like saccharine bit at the end.
And you're an idiot. But I love you.
Yeah, but I almost feel like he's too big of a character to give that sort of kiss off to.
Yeah, like when it's at the end, because the whole spiel is that he thinks that he's going to be made the Nagus because we got a bad connection, and it turns out it's going to be Rom. We all know. And then at the end, he's like, "Oh, this is Moogie's fault." Like what I wanted, like if this were the grimdark prestige TV show, if he's like, it's all Moogie's fault, she's corrupted, and then he has to like try to commit matricide at the end of it or something. Not that would
Jesus,
be
Wade.
I'm just saying, he's like, this is all my mother's
That
fault.
got dark quick.
You get all Oedipal with it, and he has to, that's a grimdark way to go with it. But he's like, nope, I mean, it's nice that he loves his family at the end. I'm not arguing that it needed to go that way.
And I also didn't get the feeling that it was like this last regression to form, like the last Mad Men episode, where like Don goes full alcoholic. Right. Fucking depresso Don again, and it's intense, and you're just like, the fuck is this show's like in the last hours? But they pull it into like a story thing. I don't feel like they were doing that either. He was just being like a Make America Great Again. Well, whatever. He was just being like the original Quark, but like turned up for no reason without. I don't know.
This is all before the age of we with unlikable characters are our heroes. It's all pre-Sopranos and everything. So
they kept him unlikable. But
Quark proto Tony Soprano.
Yeah, it's likable, but but you know what? I love you, brother. Oh, it's got that sprinkled on it always, because the producer, they'd be like, no, you can't have him be unlikable. That's just not allowable.
I did feel like it wasn't the best story they could have done with these characters. But then again, I never really run with these characters, so I'm probably not the best.
You're not the one.
From a big overall perspective of the arc of the Ferengis, it's nice that the show shows. I mean, this is in Manu's book too. It's like the overall trajectory of them is towards a more just, equitable society, and it's nice to see them come from straight objectivist Randian type to, I guess, neoliberal is. Yes, but that's just. I mean, it was 1999,
No. That's one of the things. Is I almost felt it was like too congratulatory for how far it went. Like they were very, oh yes, and we are going to have aged care, like something like that. And
it feels very West Wing to me, a show I've never watched. I love, but
I mean, I think that no, I think that it's very proud of a very mild, meek, centrist stance. They thought they were being edgy there, and I guess they were. It is more equitable than it was.
They're going to save the environment and the things that he wants to roll back. I mean, it does. I was watching it, with Joni, and I mean, it did feel topical to this era where we are now, to where it's like, oh my God, they've instituted all these reforms. This is not what my country. I have to go back and revoke everything.
Right.
Health care for all. What the fuck? Free enterprise. Why that? That's why they call it free. And a progressive income tax is. Even that would be for centrist Dems. That's crazy. That would never pass in our. Yeah, it's selling where he's planning to go full Trump. He's still the good guy too, and it's like, oh, you Quark, you scamp. It's like, okay.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that they only the political viewpoint is only there to make him seem like a scamp. It's not because the creators of the show actually have a point of view.
I mean, I think Ira would talk a big game about how proud he was where he's wearing a I'm a lesbian t-shirt and thinking he's edgy about it.
It doesn't even make sense that they have like a total authoritarian system that can just be handed off because the guy wants to. I don't know. It was weird. Like even the Catholic Church doesn't work that way.
Because the guy wants to go on vacation for the rest of the
right.
And he gets to just name his successor. Like I was just like, how?
Oh yeah, like what?
I mean, if he is politically unpopular, which is what
kind of corporation gets to name their successor?
I mean, you're supposed to think that he is he's like the NFL commissioner. He's like He's a figurehead for billionaires. I don't think Roger Goodell gets to name his son as a commissioner of NFL once he wants to go to Jeffrey Epstein's fuck island.
There should be a Ferengi thing where they're lighting smoke to know who the new Nagus is, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, that's what I was figuring. Like you should I don't know. They're the one that made their secession, their social secession, like a story point. So now I get to think it's a little underthought.
That
would take a whole half season to really do what you're saying.
Really?
Or you can just make some shit up.
Or you can just make some. You could go in with just one line and say, "I bribed everybody to get my way."
Yeah,
I paid them all off.
I think you're overcomplicated. It's easier to say he names his successor and not sweat it, though. That's what they made up for it. Their systems aren't realistic. Oh my God.
You're the guy that loves world building. Some pretty lazy world building.
Sure, but it's believable for what they're doing for this dumb 90s. I mean,
I don't even think it's that believable. But yeah, okay.
He's a religious figure. He's the head honcho. He names his successor. It's not like something to get bent up about.
I guess if you think of capitalism as religion, but capitalism's never functioned that way. A capitalist society wouldn't allow. They would have some sort of oligarchy behind the scenes.
People name their successors all the time in corporations. Sherry Redstone is going to be
privately owned, publicly owned corporation. No, she has to fight for it. She has to get the board of directors on her side.
I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm arguing. They just decided to make it here. He names his successor. It's not that crazy for them to do that for just this story, this dumb Ferengi story that they're telling.
You're right.
To do more would just be overcomplicating it, right?
Yeah, I think it's a missed opportunity. I don't think this...
Like, they're cartoon characters.
Sure, you're right. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to make them less cartoon characters, I guess. Which is, at this point in the game... That's
been your problem with the Ferengi the whole time, right?
Yeah, and just, the Ferengis need to come to me. Let's talk about a better storyline. Let's talk about Julian and Dax.
Yes.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, the best storyline.
I can still trick you.
Yeah, we're starting with the best, and we're just working our way down to the lamest storylines. Second best is
maybe it's a testament to all the anime I've been watching this last 2 weeks, but I felt like Dax and Bashir were a lot pretty cartoon characters too.
Oh, really?
Oh, I'm in an elevator with her.
His nose is bleeding.
He looks very driven and upset. Maybe something's going on. Maybe I should talk to him.
You got Miles and Worf as like an early Coen Brothers couple of guys narrating from the back. Well, what do you think's going on here? Like, why don't they just get together? And it's like, well,
that scene, by the way, that pointed out something to me. That me and Hugh have always been talking about that the show's a visual medium and it forgets that sometimes. While that scene is going on, while the Bashir is bumping into Dax for the first time and Worf and O'Brien are doing the little like balcony bullshit, peanut gallery shit, a guy phases in from the transporter and then like walks and then like shakes hands with other people. And I was just sitting there thinking, some fucker had to like that's a digital effect. Somebody had a digital effect that shit in. And I was like, they're going to go through the trouble to add this bullshit digital effect that it's just a bro handing another guy. Like, I was like, why does this like, why did he trip or something weird shit was going on? Like, why don't they do some business? If you're going to have extras performing blocked movements with digital images, why not make it fucking funny or something or interesting or like
that was Avery Brooks, the director for this episode, just like trying to create. I'm gonna really set this setting that's really lived in. There's shit going on in the background that's just.
But it's just like, why is it so boring? Well, I guess I didn't
notice that guy at all.
You always think, well, they don't do these things because it's a lot of money and that's not the point of the scene. And let's just, and it's a television, it was made on a budget and you got to move on. It's why Roger Corman don't do a lot of funny bits in his movies.
Right.
Because that's money. But they did all but. They even put digital effects. And
I have a feeling that this is like the penultimate episode. This is Avery Brooks' last chance to direct. So he's like, because he's like a guy that'll tell you exactly I want a guy coming in on the transport here. I need this. And they're like, because it did feel like they spent more money on this one than they spent on the last 3 episodes. Goodbye.
I was actually thinking, since it's like the last days of disco on this room, are they like fleecing the money? Like, look, we're gonna throw the digital guys extra work this week because this is the last they're going to get, man, and you don't know when these jobs come, so we're just going to throw them work, and we don't know if Voyager's going to pick them up. So maybe they're taking care of their own,
maybe.
But like a lot of that was one of the things I thought up because I was like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, that's possible. Yeah, my brain was like, it's Avery Brooks starting his dick around because these are the first. Did you notice that this is the first time I've noticed like any black actors playing Cardassians?
Yes, yeah, I did know that.
And there were like 2 that were prominently featured in this. Like, okay, I mean that's great. I'm a big, I'm all for it. But It's odd that this is the first time we're getting it.
We know how you feel about it. I appreciate. We know how you feel about it.
Cardassians are clearly supposed to be white actors in makeup. It's just the way it is. I mean, like, I'm all for diversity, but create other races that are black actors under latex makeup for your races. Don't take that away from canonically white actors inside of latex makeup.
Listen, Pelosi, or AOC, stop playing the race card. No.
But one of the things also to that, maybe it was a make work program for the crew, is that this episode is pretty horribly low lit.
Yeah,
and that is like notoriously low light is like labor intensive. Like it's a lot of work for the lighting crew to give you because to give you highlight, they just put up big wash lights and like that's why the soap operas are lit that way. Like they were doing the work.
Yeah, I did notice this was dark. Like all the Cardassian scenes are like in a basement. Like,
I mean, I could not even tell you what was going on when Nana Visitor was fighting the ice dragon. I have no idea. That was like 15 minutes of this episode that I was just like, I don't know. Well, I'll read it.
You might say that Colonel Kira forgot about the Cardassian fleet. No.
No, I just image that image from Game of Thrones when they kill the second dragon, but it's Damar with that look. That Khaleesi look on her face, like, what?
Oh, we were talking about Jules and Ezri making out, huh?
Oh my god!
I don't know what there is to say about it other than it was.
They didn't rise above the challenge of closing out a shitty love story with a character we didn't know.
Yeah,
let's put it that way.
I wrote something down, but I think I can't find it on my notes, but I'm sure it was just like, this is fucking horrible. Like, I don't know. It's like just the most clumsy acting of Julian of his career in this show, and it's pretty bad to say.
Oh, I thought it was just me.
Me too.
That's why I've been so awkward around you.
I don't get it.
Can we admit that the director of this episode has the best relationship moments as a director in the show?
Oh yeah.
So like interpersonal, like romance and like interpersonal shit. That's what
I almost forgot about all that stuff.
Avery Brooks was the best at directing that, and this is awful. And so I don't.
Yeah. He couldn't.
Nope.
He couldn't work with what he was given. Because what he was given was garbage.
I mean, I feel like probably with that Rejoined episode, she was probably she's very like, oh, I'm gonna give this my hardest, and I know I'm not as good an actor, Mr. Brooks, and he worked with her for 2 weeks, whereas I bet with Sadiq and Ezri in this, probably Alexander's just like, yeah, I got this, whatever, don't. And then he's like, fill him like, I'm an actor, I can do this, and Avery Brooks is like, all right, fine, just do it, instead of working with him and making
He's just never felt real. Yeah, it's old hat at this point, but this is like a big moment, and it still just doesn't feel like a real person.
Is there any reason that when they're like having we're good friends, why are they like in a Fleamarket jewelry stand? Did you see that where they're walking around with the like rock jewelry and stuff? It's like somebody had to dress a set for this scene, and they picked. Maybe y'all didn't pay attention, but it's just like, why are they?
I got the guy on the transporter. I don't have to get the.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I was just riveted by the chemistry between those actors. I was just looking in the background and going, "Oh, what's that necklace over there?" And they got all these scarves draped around the set, and it's like it looked like somebody's like, "Oh, this is my homemade jewelry. Can I have it featured on the show?" Like, yeah, we'll do it.
We should just keep going with that thesis. This is just them being bros, man. They are helping out their crew. They rise as one. Where one goes, what's QAnon?
Where we go one, we go all.
Yeah, whatever the fuck that means. Like that's their motto. They're just they're helping out. They're the gaffer. His mom makes jewelry. It's 1999, and Etsy doesn't exist yet. Maybe she could get into an expo if she's on the show.
Right. If it's on the show, I can sell it at conventions.
That's right. Look, yeah. So Bajoran show worn Bajoran jewelry. Yeah, no. They might have been doing that. I bet they were stealing scripts. I bet they were stealing. I bet Michael Okota took his old dad's pickup truck there like 4 times. I like to think that's what's going on. Is this episode's just stuff to gills with what the fuck because they're helping everybody out.
So that's that plot line. I think, are we done with Jules and
Does it go anywhere?
No, they make out at the end and they're together.
What we've always wanted.
The peanut gallery is like, well, get this shit the fuck out of here. Boop. And Worf hits the button that's in the turbo lift down. And Miles is like, hubba hubba. Those crazy kids finally did it. And Worf is like,
I guess next is the clear Ronald D. Moore storyline. The storyline about like Odo's righteous vengeance about being used as a genocidal weapon.
Well, it just opens up like with new ship who dis.
Oh, that fucking shit.
Yeah.
Why the fuck blow up I don't know. God damn it.
Yeah, it was a little. They thought they were doing big things with blowing up the ship, and it's just like,
The only thing I can think of is they thought they were getting a move.
Maybe.
So, like, what is the point of, like, I don't know. It's like, fuck.
Well, they were making this shit up as they went along, we've established, right? So they're
I
like,
know, why to blow up the Defiant and just blow it up? Just fucking, it wasn't there the first 3 seasons of the fucking show. It's not there for, like, fucking who cares? Like, it was cool.
Because it became iconic for the show, and they have to have a ship to fly in for the finale. That's
why did it have to be called the Defiant? Why did it have to look like the Defiant? I was like, it's just like sending a message to your audience. None of this really matters. It's a mixed message. It's to me.
Yeah.
It's like, this shit is fucking serious. Shit is about to go down. We're talking genocide. We're talking like the Federation's the bad guy. Are they the good guys or the bad guys? They're fucking like, we're talking the deep shit and dark night of the human soul. But don't worry, everybody's gonna work out okay. Okay.
Well, I think
we got
the argument that the problem is it's the evils and problems with fan service ultimately, right? Because that's totally what this is.
But I feel like this was almost like pre-defensive for fan service. This was like oh, we know. We brought back the Defiant. It's been gone. I don't even miss it. Like, you know,
right.
like it was gone like a week ago.
Realize it was gone. Yeah. I mean, I agree. It doesn't sell as a big, huge moment that they're trying to make it, where they're like, oh, I'm gonna go check out this. Oh, do you want to be alone with the ship so you can stick your dick in the console, sir? Yes. I would thank you, Dax, for letting me be alone in here and say, because they're like, oh, is she here yet? And they're talking about it like it's a lady, and it's not great.
It's not great, but it also it's like the Worf thing where it cheapens Gen Z's memory to act like this kids in the hall have offshoot is Gen Z. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm just like, you from a story, if you really liked the Defiant and you really liked that little ship, it absolutely helps win the war, because what it discovered and being blown up and all of the phaser readings and all of that stuff is how they've held them at bay.
Right.
You know, so it did sacrifice for the greater good, so it's got a better story.
Yeah, but that's, counterpoint. That sacrifice was so lame that it would be lame to end without seeing it do anything else, because, like, that was a squandered opportunity. Like, that.
You end the story arc with the writer's room you have.
Right. Well, and then, I mean, they obviously, like, we're going to have a big, huge space battle, and our captain of our show has to captain a ship at the end of it. We can't give him a new ship. We could, but we give him the old one, and also we're not going to get a new set for a new ship or build a new model for the last episode, so I guess we're stuck with this one, right?
These are all things you should have thought up before you blew up the ship.
They should have, but they that's the problems of not breaking your shit in the room well enough, I guess, right? And then the terrorist gang, they're going to Cardassia, but it's a trap.
Freedom fighter.
I call them the Al Qaeda gang, but that's probably not good taste.
You call them the White Mountain Boys, the Sons of Liberty, or whatever.
For that opening scene where good old KV turns on them, and it's a bloodbath when they show up. Was it just me, or like, why the fuck did they name the guy they left the ship?
Cisco? Yeah, I was like, is she talking to Cisco?
His name's Sescal. I had to look it up.
She's like, beam us out of here, Cisco. And I was like, Cisco. She can talk to Cisco? Why is this?
I know, I did the same thing.
Why is this so foobard?
What are you doing, writers? Come on, don't pick a name that when she says it sounds like Cisco.
Get rid of Cisco. Get us out of here.
Like, if you watch it with the closed captioning, it's Sescal. Then they go to Garrick's mom, not his mom. I like that it's not clear that it's mom, because I think Garrick should have mystery to him, but I think it's clear
now that she's not.
Right.
Because they're not playing like three-dimensional chess with the Garrick subtext anymore. I think it's the Garrick you're getting now.
Okay, so yeah, I'm in the minority here, where I actually think that the housekeeper is his mom.
Still?
I don't.
She tells him to clean up and stuff.
Right.
Like, I think that's like the subtext.
See, I think what I like.
James is right. They're not
James
playing 3D chess here.
James is on that side. I'm actually in the middle a little bit where I think James.
He thinks she's half a mom.
No, I think you're probably right. They're not playing four-dimensional chess here, and they're selling her as a housekeeper. But also, there's enough question to where I like it because it goes back to that Garrick is a guy that you don't know the answers to his life anymore. Exactly.
I wish there was. I just feel like when she came on the board, she just came out like a straight-ass governess.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think that the housekeeper is his mom, and that Tane is his. Of course, they said that Tane is his dad.
Tane's his dad. You know that.
Clearly.
Yeah, that's not even like they're just like, oh yeah, we all clearly know that.
Yeah. And he's like, and then, Damar is even like, what?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, yeah, he's the head of the city in order. He can say it. I'm his kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We got that out of the way.
Right. But the housekeeper's a nobody, so they don't bring up who his mom is. But
right. Frau Mila.
I think, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure there's some extended universe stuff.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's a novel about who his mom.
What's the point? Here's what I'll say: it's not explicitly wrong,
Right.
Like you could definitely say, it's like you can go read some old like Wolverine comics that has like history that's clearly like, oh, well, that's
been retconned or proven to not be the case.
Like in between two panels, the 6-issue story happened, and you're like, well, it doesn't say it didn't happen.
Right.
So you're right. I think that you're right, but it's not like, I don't think that at this point, I don't think that's
not their
I don't think they're playing that tone with us.
Maybe not, but what I do like is that it's not clear, so we could have an argument whether he is or not.
They don't have time to unpack new stuff,
Right?
Or expound upon. So they're just like, yeah.
Right.
I feel almost to the point where they were like, I think when they wrote that was probably in their minds because that made sense. He fucked the housekeeper.
Right.
Like that's a pretty basic story. That's the plot of True Detective season 1. But like, yeah, like they fucked the housekeeper and had like a second family that he kept in his house, like Thomas Jefferson, and it's grosser then. But it was way fucking worse.
Yeah,
Sorry
I get the point you're making, but yeah, not that, but
it's like Thomas Jefferson, and I thought that made sense to me. And now you're like, like do they unpack that in that scene because she's only there for a scene, or do you just skip it because to mention it at this point would be weird? Like, oh, and she's my mom. And then everybody's kind of like, really? Oh.
Well, I think at least one person probably may have realized that it's more interesting if you don't lay it out. But to what you're saying, James, I mean, I think you're probably right that they're going with, like, they could have made it more explicit by asking a question about whether he's his mom and Garrett giving some, flip answer that could go either way. Mm-hmm. That would have locked down the question.
Yeah.
But the fact is that we don't know for sure, so you can make arguments for both.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I like that at least that it's not completely clear.
You could have even had like a scene between the two of them, not where they even maybe talk it out, but where they, speak in furtive suggestions that.
Right. She gets some more scenes in the finale, but I don't remember how. I don't think
does she?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if there's more to it, then maybe I don't. I'm just speaking.
Yeah.
I can cleanly just speak about this episode because I didn't watch the finale.
I don't remember.
According to Memory Alpha, that's the mom. Because it's extended universe garbage. Well, in the Deep Space Nine novel, A Stitch in Time reveals that Mila was indeed Garrick's mother. However, he was raised believing his father was a man named Tolan rather than Tane. Shortly before his own death, Tolan told Garrick. Canon. I mean, according to like extended universe books, which is what I suspected, is that the show probably wasn't the showrunners were probably more interested in getting their special effects guys some extra work rather than clarifying that.
Hey guys, I got an aunt who's fallen on hard times. If I could cast her as a governess type to be like, we could put her in the scene.
Yeah, for me it was like, oh, she's like the Frau blah 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 from like a German.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. She even has that like Gertrude Stein hair and like like the 20s look that all housekeepers or nannies in TV in the 80s and 70s wore.
Oh yeah, she's what's her miss from Facts of Life.
Facts of Life.
Yeah, Mrs. She.
What is the whole storyline? What is that whole story? So did they kill they raid all of the 18 bases?
They were like, Damar was killed. Dukat does not get mentioned once in this entire episode. Yeah, all 18 of their of the rebel bases have been eliminated, and so they're like, game over, man. We're fucked. And
what if Dukat wasn't mentioned in the next episode either? It's just a shot at him working with like a seeing eye dog and getting pissed off and kicking it and like snapping his like cane and then like damn it and then like wah wah and then like cut to another character and that was it. That was the end.
That's the last we see of them. The rebels are all eliminated and they're stuck on. Nobody's like, well, let's keep fighting. They're like, well, that's it, I guess, until Frau Mila from the Facts of Life comes down and says, you know what they're saying about you out there, and they're like, what, that we're losers and that we suck and that blah blah blah. It's like, no, they're saying that Damar's still alive. Like, oh, that we're stupid, that we're arrogant, that they're glad we're dead. And it's like, no, they're saying that you're alive on Kelvis Prime and you've got a secret mountain hideaway or something. It's like, and basically she's like, no, they've been lied to. This is also felt topical to me. Like, well, they've been lied to so much that they don't believe the fake news anymore.
Right.
They believe that, the Damar
is Robert Mueller coming to save us.
Right. Well, no, they're trying to convince Damar to be Bernie Sanders, I guess, to come in and flip the tables or whatever.
The Vichy Cardassians are cool. Yes.
And they're going to fall back to Cardassian space because the Federation's a bunch of wimps and they're not going to take us and they're going to regroup. Admiral Hand Sandwich is like, nope. You know what? They just assume we're going to be big wimps about this, but then the Federation is pretty immediately like, no, we see what they're doing and we need to go risk it all on the attack. Wei Yun seems so sure, and the Changeling is so sure that they're just not going to do it because the Federation is weak. There's not even in a question. It would have been more maybe interesting if they had to fight to convince the Federation more, because that's what the Federation is set up as. But they're like, nope, we understand. We're with the Klingons.
So he's now the legend. So like now there's a popular uprising up on Cardassian. Why? Like they're odd. They're taking an odd approach to the penultimate episode, where it seems like they're drastically moving towards the everything is fine penultimate cliffhanger.
Right. Well,
that's a weird, like a calm before the storm. Like things are looking up for our space friends.
Yeah.
And so,
well, the one
I
thing
guess you could call it bold stylistically to do that, because a normal show would make you be like, oh shit, this is the all is lost moment. And then they do their long shot play to fix everything. But now I don't even know. Like everybody's cool.
Right. And the Federation is making
literally the next episode. I do know that the next episode opens up with Julian like waking up post-coital. Right. That's your last episode. Like that's
right.
So
and the Federation is the good guys. Though, I mean, going back, we haven't talked about the Odo, your T-cell count's low enough and you're fine. And
yeah, this is the story. This is what's so fucking weird about it.
This goes back to what we argued a lot about last week. Last week when we were
oh my God, I hope
talking. We were talking a lot about Section 31 and how it is indicative of a systematic problem within the Federation, and I was kind of saying, well, not necessarily. But then Odo pretty much takes your side in that argument and says like, no, fuck your Federation, and they're like, no. And then Julian was like, my side, well, they're not technically part of the Federation didn't do this to you.
Fuck that.
Section 31 did. And Odo's like, fuck you. The Federation did this to me.
It did feel good that Odo wasn't having any of that clear, dumb bullshit.
Yeah.
That was actually
the Section 31 is not the Federation. Really? Fuck off. Yes, it is.
He
Oh,
wasn't
it's
having any
existed
of
since
that.
your inception, and it's been actively promoting your interests. So what's the
they
deal
claim
here?
to abhor, genocide, but they look the other way. That's a tidy little arrangement, isn't it? And so
That's not me. That's
Yeah.
the
Takes y'all
super
side.
PAC that formed in my name.
But I mean, he was a collaborator during the occupation, so I don't know why
Well,
he gets off. Everybody's hands are a little dirty there, Odo. You should know better than anybody.
yeah, right.
I do think that it is like.
And when
I
he's
do
given,
think that
and
it's-
he's talking to Avery Brooks, and Avery Brooks, I don't know if it. I don't think it's an accident that Avery Brooks is in his exact pale moonlight costume when he's like, we can't strengthen their hand. There's a war on, and he feels it. He gets it. He feels bad, but he's also in his pale moonlight uni, and he
Yeah.
Then they're abetting genocide.
I don't condone what Section 31 did, but the founders started this war.
I see what you're saying. Like it's a signifier of like being not like full dress uniform, so he's like half ideals too.
right, yeah,
Right.
and he's
interesting.
he's kind of he's indicative of his.
Because I thought
position.
it was a weird thing to let dangle. I thought that it was weird to have him say it, and then, I mean, clearly.
I mean, they had to
he's-
acknowledge it though.
Yeah.
Well, they did, but then, like, I
Have
felt
the
like.
audience. We'd be talking if they didn't have that conversation. We'd be talking about how the Federation is abetting and condoning genocide.
Yeah,
Right.
no. You're right that was at least they had the conversation, but then it's like, well, then once you put, because that's the problem. Why shitty shows avoid the conversation is so that then you don't have to have all of the problems that the conversation has, which is that you have to have Avery Brooks voice some sort of concern for, come on, I'm just not that excited about saving your assholes right now, you assholes right now. And this is a market advantage to keep our survival. Like, that's what he says. And that it even makes sense.
Yeah, he says we thought about giving them the cure, but we just can't do it, man.
Federation Council considered giving the founders the cure. Then they decided against it.
And I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. It makes sense. But the show is, the Federation's supposed to be better than that. I don't know, is Cisco, I don't know. It made Cisco look flawed and not in necessarily in an intended way.
Yes, I definitely agree with that.
See, I mean, I think it's just yeah.
He was just I was just like he was just being a mouthpiece for the Federation's.
That's what I
current
felt like. Is
stance.
that I felt like that. How you would have wrote that better, I think, is that you would have had him voice the concerns. So fuck, guys, you guys are fucking killing us, and I'm not gonna fucking throw when your enemy's drowning, you don't throw them a fucking life preserver. We have a way of life that we have to preserve, and all of that stuff is things that needs to be said. It's a justification, but then again, you have to find a way to make me see that that doesn't sit well with Cisco.
I feel
or
like
that he
for
lost
me-
he lost that conversation.
For me, I feel like that was conveyed in that scene.
I guess, but
just in Avery Brooks' performance and his look, I know, he's they thought about it. He's being a captain. He's got to be a authority figure. So he's we thought about it. And he's and you can see it in his performance. There's he knows that it's technically it is the moral right thing to do, but they just can't do it because this war, the costs are too big. And there's just I would love to be able to do that, but we just can't.
it does come off as one of those movies where the lead does a bunch of horrible shit, but at the end turns nice, and then for his long-suffering girlfriend is you're right, at the end of the day you're amazing, and not holding him into account for those feelings. I felt at the end of the day the Federation is going to be done that, where they're going to the theme of the show is at the end of the day the Federation made the right decision. See, we struggle, but at the end of the day, you could come back with, you still fucking did all this shit.
Right.
You still haven't held account for it.
Well, I mean, the next episode.
It's all of these people saying, I don't think Trump is personally racist. Why, who fucking cares? He still did this shit.
That's the thing. Odo calls him out on it in that scene, and Cisco gives his look, I know we can't do it. And then Odo gets the last word. So, and it takes Odo is the moral argument. I think he wins it in that scene where And Avery Brooks, agrees with Odo that it's the morally right thing, but the costs are too big, and he's like, I can't. And then Odo gets the final word, just like, well, that's...
Interesting, isn't it? The Federation claims to abhor Section 31's tactics, but when they need the dirty work done, they look the other way. It's a tidy little arrangement, wouldn't you say?
And so, and then, maybe in this next episode, in this final episode, something will happen to where even with all this fucking around by Section 31, they will find a way to do the right thing. And, spoilers, but I think that they do,
I think maybe I'm brushing up upon, maybe that I'm thinking about it from I think that I want to look at it from because I'm trying to protect the things that gives me hope about Star Trek and not just turning it into another sort of sci-fi story. But and in that regards, the Section 31 is and this is something we've always struggled with. Section 31 is a fundamentally it's an issue. We have to deal with it because it's a problem. How am I supposed to think? How am I supposed to see the lofty goals of the Federation if they have this dark shit that's been, buttressing all of their actions for, centuries? How am I supposed to get with that shit? But the way they looked at it then and the way that most storytellers do now, because it's juicy, is that they look at it as it's a villain that's coming from within inside the house.
Right.
It's a villain that that villain is one of us, And that's juicy as a story because there's lots of drama and shit. And it is juicy because there's lots of big, what we always talk about is when you start bandying about big ideas without doing anything with them. Movies do all the time. Oh, it's about surveillance state and how you relate to the, and war. And, that doesn't say anything. But,
right.
And I feel like that's what they're doing with Section 31. It's saying stuff about, the CIA and what we do, but it's not really saying anything. It's just a juicy villain. But it's fundamentally breaking. So if you look at it from, Star Trek as some sort of thing that is hopeful and whatever, Section 31 is just fucking gross.
Right.
But if it's just space stories with high drama and interactions, then you like Section 31 because it's juicy. So, and that's the struggle.
Yeah. The way I see it is, we had the 31 argument over and over, I feel like. But yeah,
yes,
it's a problem.
It's a theme of our podcast, I think.
Yeah.
It's a dark part of us that we don't want to face. They don't want to face it. Sisko would like not to, but he has to. And then I think ultimately at the end, even with this part of you that's fucking shit up and doing the wrong thing, you fight against it. And in the end, you hope that the Federation ends up doing the right thing and confounding that darker part of them. And, spoilers, I think that's where the show ends up, But
yeah, but where I would... God damn, I'm gonna quote Aaron Sorkin work positively here. But what happens at the end of A Few Good Men, where the good guys win and the bad guys taken away, and at the end of the day they put these two guys in fucking jail, and they're at the end they're like, why are you doing that, man? We were absolved. He told us to do it, and it was yeah, but you still fucking killed a guy.
Right.
Go to jail for that.
Nobody's trying to give Section 31 a free pass.
I guess I'm saying that I feel like it's saying...
But we'll see next episode when...
not Section 31 a free pass. The Federation is the kids. Section 31 is Jessup. And the kids should be the Federation. You could say, see, the Federation are bad guys. We kick them out. I'm always decrying the Federation, or the Section 31. But yeah, they didn't. I don't think they dismantled them, do they? At the end of this,
It's not because it's not for lack of trying. They're not let's just let Section 31 be.
Well,
as
they don't
it is.
have offices. So
right. Well, the characters and all the things in the show, they don't dismantle Section 31 because it's got to be a going force for the franchise and Star Trek going forward. But it's not like nobody in this episode.
And if you want Star Trek to
in
be...
the future, we don't know, but I'm fairly secure saying that they don't go forward saying, well, I guess we just have to ignore Section 31 and accept it as an inevitable part of the system.
No, but I'm not talking about in their day-to-day. I'm just saying that if you Like, if you're trying to say that the show is dealing with some complicated shit, that's looking at the hard work of the utopia. Like, that's what it's looking at. And this dark side is there. We've revealed that his dark side is there. That's fine. But, like, shouldn't a story of hope be working aggressively, not nominally, but aggressively to root this shit out, STEM and all? Like, how can I don't know. Then how good is the Federation if they have a functioning deep state as like a recurring villain?
But that's just like that they're always fighting against. That's the whole point. And like, I don't think we're going to resolve this issue right now, because there's a whole conclusion to the series.
There's more shit.
So I don't think we should wait and probably bank this, because we're not going to resolve.
But I think that it took me a long time to. It looked me a long time to get to those two different things. If Section 31 bothers you, it's probably because you put a lot of stock in the utopian nature of the Federation as part of your enjoyment to watching the show. And if you like Section 31, it's because you like drama. Like, action show drama.
Yeah.
They're the Borg. They're, let's look at the rogues gallery of the Star Trek. You have the Romulans. You have the Borg. You have Section 31. They're the one that's like a carbon copy. They're the Dark Link, or, that's a common villain to have in your rogues gallery.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so, that's the Odo, you're healthy, and here's why. Yeah, so that's most of Odo's plot, and that's all he really gets, isn't it? But he gets the moral,
a clean bill of health.
Yeah. But he wins the moral argument, at least.
But but you have even while they're having this argument, that they've solved it's all resulted down into a simple action. They can allow Odo to, take the polio vaccine back to the people.
Right. And we'll see what they do next episode.
Well, we know what they do, but I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that it's very conveniently written into like a single action. So at the end of the day, they can just let Odo do this thing where this can all go away. But what if they don't let Odo over there, or they put him in jail, or half of the population had died before he could get over there?
Well, that's a concern.
There could be consequences, but it's wonderfully consequenceless at the end. So I'm not going to give them too many points for what they're doing with Section 31.
Well, I don't want to talk about it anymore, because I don't know how it. But yeah, they could. There's all sorts of things that they could do with how they resolve that storyline. I know how they do it to an extent. But specifics, I don't remember exactly. I don't know the specifics of how. Yes, they don't do exactly what you're saying, but they're making this shit up. They made different shit up. I don't know.
It's a good point. I'm critiquing the shit they made up, and that they should do different shit.
I know, and I just want to critique the episode we're talking about next week that I don't know the full scope of.
Cisco's having a baby.
Then that's the one thing we haven't touched on yet, right?
It's a pretty big one.
That was almost that seemed like a fucking afterthought.
It is an after. It's treated. Of course, the writers treat it like an afterthought. We know more about Leela's percentage of tips than we do about this baby, really.
Yeah, it was almost like at the end they were like, holy shit, all of that stuff we led up to has nothing to do with what we're doing.
Yeah,
where's the space Jesus shit?
They're clearly trying to give us an added punch on the way out.
Right. But it's a short, quick scene, but I don't know. I think it's probably the best acted scene of this whole episode with Avery Brooks.
Now I won't argue with that.
Yeah, I won't.
And
it's concentrated. It's the only scene with just two good actors.
I'm pregnant.
And his reaction,
Are you sure?
She was like, "What the fuck?"
Of course, I'm sure.
And it felt very real. And he's like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry. It's I'm happy. Not." She's like, "Yeah." And
I didn't mean.
The interesting thing, and my partner really appreciated this when I put it out there. It was like, "Oh, she's pregnant because he forgot his birth control."
Yeah.
Yep. Because he forgot his injection.
Yeah. Yep. And Julian reminded him.
Yeah, Julian being a sex creep. Also a doctor. But it's like, oh yeah, Julian reminded me, hey Cisco, you still fucking because you didn't take your birth control this month. Yeah. That's how I assume. That's in my mind, that's how Julian asked that question.
How old is Benjamin Sisko? Why ain't he getting his feathers snipped like I did, like a normal man does?
Because why do that when you get
because you forget and have a baby. That's why.
Well,
Maybe
I mean,
wants
I'm
to
sure. Listen,
Yeah.
his choice of birth control is
Yeah.
purely story driven. It's not based on any world building that previously exists.
And how dare you shame Benjamin Sisko for what to do with his body and his choices about his preferred.
I'm criticizing his lifestyle.
Up
choices.
until now, it wasn't a problem, so I don't know.
How dare you?
I do. Do you remember that scene? Remember that scene in The Office where Michael Scott's at an improv group, and every time they do an improv, he derails it because he pulls out a gun because it's the only thing he can think of to heighten the tension of a scene.
It's the most dramatic thing you can do. So why not do it every time?
Why not do it in every scene? They're like that with "I'm having a baby."
Yeah, that's fair enough.
All stories in with "I'm having a baby."
Yeah.
What are we gonna do to make this real treasure? Put a baby in her.
Right. And it's like, we set up this thing at the beginning of the arc that remember that we said the prophet said he was not going to be happy? How are we going to do that? No, it's going to have to be something with the baby. She's nervous that that the prophets are going to kill her baby.
Trying to tell you
Yes,
there's something that happened to my baby.
Yeah.
And he's like, no,
I don't know. I feel like this whole 10 episode thing gets too much fucking credit for its serialization. I think just because it's numbered doesn't mean it's serialized. I still feel like these things are episodic as shit.
Well, I mean,
and I still feel like we just closed a bunch of books before. I don't know. I don't see this as drastically different than the last 10 episodes of season 5. Or
I mean, I disagree with you. I think it is, and it's.
I mean, with the Kai and Ducat stuff, that was pretty back to back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now they're gone. I guess for
a minute.
Yeah, nobody's arguing that it's the most masterful thing in the world, but I would argue that it's.
I just feel like this is. I don't feel like
it's a step up. They're trying something here. I'm not arguing that they get it right, but I do think it's something.
It is. It's a weird in between. State.
And that's been our thesis since we started this podcast, that it's a prequel of sorts, not that it gets it right.
Missing links aren't pretty, man. That's why they don't. That's
why.
If
I could go back and do our first season over again, I would say, we're looking at Deep Space Nine and asking the question: is it a precursor to modern television?
Yeah, missing links aren't pretty. I think he's right.
Yeah.
Nobody likes. Yeah, they don't stick around for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where, that's a struggle with these episodes.
Yeah, I can tell that you're struggling.
Yeah.
But it's almost over, man. We're done with this one now, and shit, there's only 87 minutes left, or however long this two-parter is. Mm-hmm. It's a long one, but
it is. Yeah. I mean, there's there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of things to have.
And overall, I thought this was it's cramming a lot and it's setting up the end game. It wasn't a bad episode. I mean, they spent a lot of time on Ferengi stuff because I guess this is the last time they get to do. They need to close that book, I guess, and then so it's a weird. This episode hangs together weird on a thematic level.
Maybe Hughes missing link thing. It's a really. The more I think about that, that's a juicy analogy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because it is it's like the worst of both worlds in some ways. Because I feel like I didn't really watch an episode this week. I don't really, But then again, it's it is most of the stuff is just a continuation of storylines from before.
Right.
But I don't feel like I got I don't know, I don't feel like it it's I don't know. I feel like this is the worst of both worlds, where you don't feel like you're getting a story, but you also don't feel like you're on a fast track of momentum, that's beating you down that you can't
See, I feel like I'm getting a story, but I'm not getting coherent themes that are tied together.
Yeah, I mean, with each individual episode, I don't feel like I'm getting this is a story about this episode was about 5 different things. It wasn't a story about whatever.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Or 2 stories or whatever. But so I don't even really know what
right, because I think they're so excited about having this serialization. They're not what they're not doing is tying that serialization into into solid themes per episode. They're just like, this is the story, and then we're moving the plot along. And these are the different things we have to move along to get to where we need to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which makes it a kind of missing link in ways for...
Yeah. This is one of those, I don't know, I've questioned to even bring it up, but it feels like, because this could be me, but it feels like it isn't. I don't know. Maybe it's because the storylines are so long. Maybe it's, I don't know. Like I feel like that, this could have some punch, like some classic punch. Like, I feel like that we're not like, they're not giving us like big beats and like huge, like, I don't like, things aren't just, like, it seems like it wouldn't be that hard to have each one of these episodes have a big fucking wow third act, right? And I don't mean like a giant space battle, but like something that fucking you remember.
I mean, yeah, hindsight's 20/20, right? Like, I agree that it could do that.
That's the definition of a podcast.
Well, yeah.
So, like, that's one of the things that I'm sort of kind of like, is that, like, it would seem like it wouldn't be that hard to add a punch to these episodes and like each episode third act.
Yeah, that's when I say, it's not that hard to do backseat driving it. At the time in 1999, it was kind of, it wasn't really being done.
The world's not full of podcasting is the easiest job in the world. So
yeah, no.
You just get on and say, I don't like this thing, or I like this thing.
Yeah, I know. that feels a little cheap sometimes to me.
Yes.
But that's the episode. I think we're done, right? We've gone on for a while here.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to guess what the good people of IMDb think of this episode?
What was it last week?
Extreme Measures, where they go into Section 31's brain. Sloane's brain was that last episode.
Oh my God, that was worse. What was the number on that?
Last week was 7.7.
I'm on a 8.5.
I was going to go 8.5 too.
We could both go 8.5.
I'm all right. For the first time, maybe, or I don't know, because that's what I was going to say. I'll go with my gut, 8.5.
Yeah, go with your gut. It's 8.3.
Nah, damn. Well, at least we're both as wrong this time.
I just threw it out there, but he could have thrown you a lifeline. But he he could have said, or you could go lower, Wade.
Yeah, well.
Maybe like 2 points lower.
I don't. Yeah, I don't want to win on those terms. No, I'm happy being just as wrong as you are.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It's the last episode ever, man. Next week.
Yeah.
All right.
Thinking back on all of the times, it's another turning point.
I'm trying to remember. What's that Green Day song?
Yes.
All right. Well, next week we'll become the legend.
We will, young boy.
Right. Become legend, young boy.
Wade, do you want to tell people how to get a hold of us and whatnot?
Yes. If you don't know by now, well, I'm going to tell you again, and make something of it, I guess. You can still give us a call at 917-408-3898. Look us up at kickersofelves.com for all the other podcast stuff we do. Especially go to patreon.com/kickersofelves for all that bonus content where you can become legend, young boy. Like because we all know all about the anime now. We talked about Evangelion a little bit, so that's and assorted other podcast content and audio content at Kickers of Elves, patreon.com/Kickers of Elves. Check it out and throw some money at us while you still can. And you still can for a while. Well, whatever. I'll shut up now. Do all the stuff that every podcast wants you to do, but do it for us.
All right. Well, thanks again for listening to another episode of The Rules of Acquisition. We hope you join us next week for the last time as we go through another episode, the last episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine. For Wade, James, and myself, 3 to beam out.
Boop.
Started in a crack house, Obama went the back route. Killed Bin Laden, another 4 up in the black house. Still got the max out, pull a mask down like a mascot. Still trick with bitches, I with money, her with ass shots. Good, had room for one more, I took the last spot. Re-up gang Peter, nigga, Yaden hit the jackpot. Whole nother level, then you add fame, that's a whole nother devil. Legit drug dealer, that's a whole nother bezel. The carbon automar, that's a whole nother metal. But still keep it ghetto. Behind the scenes, pull strings like Geppetto. The gun blow steam, whistle like a tea kettle. Running like the rebels. You an LV sports shoe on a pedal. I let you niggas settle. Yeah. Trouble on my mind. I got trouble on my mind. Trouble on my mind. So much trouble on my mind. Trouble on my mind. I got trouble on my mind. Trouble on my mind. So much trouble on my mind. On my mind.
Pharrell said get him, so I got him. Tripped on Bristol Palin, then I accidentally shot him. Then it ricocheted and killed the game. I'm a problem, cause I wanna fuck the world, but not a fan of using condoms. Pardon my French, I'm going hard as my dick when I envision my tip on the crust of bitch lips. Mr. Lip Shits has been tripping since I met your reptar, Triceratops dinosaur dick. I feel it in my gut. To kill these motherfuckers is a must like the arm of my pits. You niggas coming shorter than a Bushwick Billy costume on sale during Christmas in Philly. Well, not really. It's getting kinda chilly. Let's hit a couple bars and get some bitches wet willies. Soaked getting jiggy with it and Bel Air's.
Oh hi. I'm still here. I'm not dead yet. Were you sad to not hear me? Happy? Did you wait till the end here just to hear the sound of my voice? Just listening to the music? Let me know you love me. I may not be long for this world. I love you. I promise. I'm not programmed to lie.